Thanks for joining our special live coverage of South Korea's 27th cabinet meeting of the year. In a moment, President Yoon Suk-yeol will be presiding over the meeting. He'll be briefing the public on his latest trip to Central Asia. Now, to remind you, he spent all last week visiting Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan as he set out his K-Silk Road initiative. That's Korea's first strategy to increase cooperation with the region. It looks like the cabinet meeting is about to begin. We'll come back afterwards.
At ease, please take your seats. Let us begin the cabinet meeting. Last week, I made state visits to Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan in Central Asia and returned back early Sunday morning. Central Asia has a long history of exchange with us, and it's a region that we are culturally close to. It is also the center of ancient Silk Road, and it is a strategic point connecting Europe and Asia. And for a long time, the interests of major powers have crossed here. In particular, due to the recent war in Ukraine and the instability in the Middle East, energy, food security, and supply chain crises have worsened. And thus, the geopolitical and geoeconomic importance of Central Asia, which is growing rapidly based on its abundant natural resources and development potential, is growing as ever before. Ahead of this visit, our government announced the first diplomatic strategy of the Republic of Korea specialized in Central Asia, which is Korea-Central Asia K-Silk Road Cooperation Initiative. All the leaders of Central Asia welcomed the K-Silk Road Cooperation Initiative based on principles of cooperation, of companionship, convergence, and creation, and they expressed their firm will to closely cooperate with the Republic of Korea for the peace and prosperity of the region and the international community. Also, through this visit, the Republic of Korea government has solidified the three key countries' strategic partnerships in Central Asia, focusing on mineral resources, energy, and infrastructure, and also achieved substantial results. Turkmenistan, which has voluminous energy resources, between Korean company and Turkmenistan state-owned company, there was a cooperation agreement that was signed on the gas field and petrochemical plant. Through this, in the near future, our Korean companies are expected to win orders worth tens of billions of dollars and have discussed in depth additional large-scale orders. The largest economy in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, An intergovernmental MOU on cooperation in the electric power industry was signed. This has secured a foundation for Korean companies to advance into large-scale projects such as power plant modernization and gas combined cycle power generation. Also, the largest Central Asia market, Uzbekistan, our country's first high-speed railroad export was concluded, and this is setting a new milestone for the Korean rail to enter the global market. In addition, together with both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, we signed an MOU on cooperation in the key mineral supply chain. With this, we have established a full-cycle partnership covering the exploration and development of major minerals such as uranium, nuclear fuel, lithium, a secondary battery material, and molybdenum and tungsten semiconductor materials, as well as smelting production and utilization. And with this MOU, we agreed to cooperate that Korean companies can participate preferentially in the development and production process of minerals. The Central Asian tour that I have gone on also served as an opportunity to secure firm support of these countries regarding North Korean nuclear issue. The leaders of these three Central Asian countries who have faithfully implemented the Central Asia Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty and have been exemplary leaders in promoting peace in the region and the global non-proliferation system unanimously condemned North Korea's illegal nuclear and missile development and declared that they will continue to faithfully implement the UN's resolutions on sanctions against North Korea. This state visit to Central Asia is another emerging strategic region diplomacy following the Korea-Pacific Island Summit in May last year and Korea-ASEAN Summit in September and the Korea-Africa Summit early this month. And it signifies that the government's vision of global pivot diplomacy has been realized to a significant level. The future vision and cooperation plans of the Indo-Pacific Strategy, Korea-ASEAN Solidarity Initiative, and Korea-Central Asia K-Silk Road Cooperation Plan announced by our government so far have received active support and welcome from the leaders of the 10 ASEAN countries, Pacific Islands countries, 48 African countries, and 5 Central Asian countries. The norms of the international trade order are shaken at the fundamentals, and the supply chains between countries and regions are being thoroughly fragmented. We must accurately interpret this great game that determines the global order, and we must have a clear strategy that we can advocate. With this awareness of such problems, through this state visit this time, I have made great efforts to expand the scope of Republic of Korea's global pivot diplomacy to the Central Asia region, and to secure a wider playing field for our companies and citizens. In the future, the government will support more companies and professionals in each field to actively interact with Central Asia. In particular, the startup companies, for them to boldly take on challenges and continue to innovate and grow, we will pioneer the K-Silk Road of Opportunity. Each relevant ministries will meticulously take care of the follow-up measures for each field of this time tour and our cooperative relationship with Central Asia. In addition, the first Korea-Central Asia Summit scheduled to be held next year was agreed, and I hope that
지지와 환영을 받았습니다.
This also was very much welcomed by the Central Asia leaders, and I hope that this Korea Central Asia Summit will be launched in a substantive manner in line with our Central Asia Cooperation Plan. End of May, the 2025 University Entry Exam Plan and Recruitment Guidelines for the medical schools and its admissions was finally completed. Nevertheless, yesterday, part of medical school professors collectively walked out, and today, Medical Association is illegally refusing to treat patients. I find this very unfortunate and regrettable. Many citizens, including patient groups and people from all walks of life, are appealing to the medical community to halt their collective action. The government has the responsibility to protect the lives and health of our citizens, and it has no choice to deal very sternly to such illegal acts that abandon patients. Fortunately, the majority of doctors are staying by at the patient's side. In particular, the doctors who are guarding the hospitals while considering the hearts of pregnant mothers, and doctors who have declared that they will not take off their stethoscopes for sick children and suffering patients. We are very thankful, and I would like to express my respect and gratitude to those medical staff who are staying by the patients. You are the ones who are fulfilling your mission and responsibility to save lives and are the cornerstone of our country's medical care and system. The government will unwaveringly devote itself to medical reform that establishes regional medical care and essential medical care and fundamentally innovates the medical system itself. To achieve true medical reform, opinions from medical field are more important than ever, and participation of this community is an absolute necessary. If the public does not agree and insists on claims that are impossible to realize, everyone will inevitably become victims. Rather than taking extreme measures, I hope you will participate in the Medical Reform Special Committee to express your opinions. I would also like to appeal to the medical students and junior doctors. You are the protagonists who are responsible for the future of medical care of the Republic of Korea. Collective actions that abandon the pain and suffering of the patients, which are your reason for existence, are by no means desirable, either personally or nationally. The government will take all necessary measures to ensure that you can continue with your studies and training. If you return now and express your opinions actively, we will listen to you and find ways to be together with you. I hope that Ministry of Health and Welfare will thoroughly review the emergency medical care system in cooperation with local governments so that the public will not feel anxious. Also, I hope that you will consider ways to cooperate with the medical community and push forward with sense of urgency so that the medical reform can be fully realized. Myself and the government will do our best until the end to complete the medical reform for the people and the future. On June 12th, in Buan, Jeollabuk-do, a strong earthquake measuring 4.8 occurred. In particular, this earthquake occurred in the Honam region where there had been no earthquakes or strong earthquakes. Even the experts are unable to diagnose what are the causes. Now, no part of our country is safe from earthquakes. I urge the Ministry of Interior and Safety and other relevant organizations to quickly prepare multifaceted measures, including nationwide survey. Although there were no casualties from this earthquake, more than 500 places experienced property damages, such as cracks in the walls of the buildings. I urge you to do your best to support the prompt restoration of damaged facilities, including houses, and to minimize the inconveniences that were caused. From the end of this month, the rainy season will arrive. For the last several years, the flood damage and heat wave damage have increased due to extreme weather conditions, so we must be proactively preparing for it. The areas vulnerable to landslides or riverbanks should be inspected preemptively, and the preemptive measures and preventive measures for the vulnerable facilities that including distribution of water barriers and semi-basement houses should take place. In the event of a storm or typhoon, it is most important to control these vulnerable areas preemptively and evacuate the residents as quickly as possible. I would like to ask you to prepare thoroughly and implement preemptive evacuation in these areas vulnerable to landslide and the riverbanks. Heat waves are a disaster that is even more severe and extreme to the socially vulnerable, such as the elderly and children or low-income families. So the vulnerable households, including the small sheltered houses and senior centers, we are going to expand support air conditioning and supplies to strengthen safety management for farmers, fishermen, construction workers, and delivery workers as well. The primary reason for the existence of a country is to protect the lives and safety of the people. This summer, we must be determined so that not one single citizen is injured or tragically lost due to unexpected disaster. I hope that each ministry centered around Ministry of Public Administration and Security will closely work together to make all-out efforts to prepare and respond in advance.
That was our special live coverage of South Korea's 27th cabinet meeting of the year. More details coming up on our meeting at our later newscast at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.